Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute little bride of Frankenstein. She is all no-sew, except we are going to have to embroider on the mouth, the little hand, and then the little stripes in the hair. And then I've also made a plush version if you want to give that a try in the larger yarn. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. And for the plush version, I used a number 6 blanket yarn, a 5.5 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you. And I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to begin at the top of the head. So grab whatever color you're doing the hair in. I'll be using a dark gray just because black is hard to see. And you can begin any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end. So what I do is I fold my yarn in half. I'm going to grab up top to make my loop, wrap that around my finger, down and round and through to make a knot. And I'm going to pinch the top of that loop, and I'm just going to slide this knot up just so my loop is a little bit bigger than my hook. And we're going to insert our hook, grab our yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you're going to pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 8 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase again. That'll be 3 and 4 in the same stitch. Increase again. 5 and 6. Increase again. 7 and 8. Increase. 9 and 10. Increase. 11 and 12. Increase. 13 and 14. And our last increase, 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3. And repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. Row 4, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 5, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one we're going to change colors. So you're going to insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up just like you were doing a regular single crochet, but you're going to leave those 2 loops on the hook and not finish. And we're going to grab our next color. So you're going to cut this color. I'm going to switch to my black and I'll be right back. And now we're just going to tie our old color to our new color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to take that new color and just pull it through those 2 loops of your last stitch of the previous row. Now for row 7, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 9, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 10, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and again in this 24 stitch, we're not going to finish it. We're going to be changing our color, so we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on the hook, and I'm going to cut my yarn and grab our next color. So this will be the dress color, and again, all we're going to do is tie our old color and our new color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Then you're going to grab that new color, pull it through those 2 loops of your last stitch for the previous row. Row 11, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 12, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 13, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 14, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, for the next row, we're going to be going in the front loop. So if you've never done that before, I'm just going to quickly show you how. So normally we're going underneath this V of the stitch. So this time when we are doing our front loop, we're just going to come down and we're just going to grab that first stitch, and we're not going to touch any of these back loops. So just up through the V, up through the V, up through the V, and we're going to leave all these back loops for the next row. Okay, let me get my hook back in. So for row 15 in the front loops, we're going to start with a picot stitch, and what we're going to do is we're going to go in that front loop. So see, I'm going in between the V's there. I'm going to do one single crochet. I'm going to do one chain, and then I'm going to do a single crochet in that same front loop. And then I'm going to do 2 slip stitches in the next 2 front loops. So slip stitch, slip stitch. And then we're just going to repeat that all the way around. I'll do it slow one more time, and then I'm going to speed up. So in the front loop, we're going to do our picot. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, all in that same front loop, and then 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. So you're going to get these little kind of peaks for the bottom of the skirt. Okay, again we're going to picot, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Remember, they're all in the front loops. Slip stitch, slip stitch, single crochet. We're doing our picot, chain 1, single crochet, slip stitch, slip stitch. Again, we're going to repeat that in the front loops. Picot, so single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and then 2 slip stitches. 1, 2. Picot, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, slip stitch, slip stitch. Repeat your picot, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, slip stitch, slip stitch. Repeat it again. So your picot, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, 2 slip stitches. Make sure I'm in that front loop. 1, 2. And then you can slip stitch into your next stitch just to finish that off. And then I like to do a chain 1 just so when I move into these back loops here that were left behind, so I'm not going and squishing that last little batch of front loops. It kind of gives it a little space. So maybe 1. Sometimes you might want to do 2, but I do at least 1 before I go into those back loops. But before we do that, let's add our eyes, and we'll put a little stuffing in. We'll get those ready. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our back is centered. So here's my stitch marker, so it's easy to tell. It's in the center there, and we're just going to flip it over so we're looking at the front. And we are going to go into the row that we need our eyes in. So it'll be between rows 8 and 9. So we're going to find our first loop that we made. It might be a little tricky to see, but we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then just down in between rows 8 and 9, and I'm going into a stitch and not into a hole. So see, I have a hole on either side of my needle there, and it doesn't matter if you're right in the center, just generally in the front. Then you're going to take your eye and you're going to go into that first hole right beside your needle. That's 1, 2, 3. And you're going to go into that third stitch and do the same thing on the other side. So you're at that first hole right beside your needle. 1, 2, 3. And then in that third hole. It's going to look like that. And then let's put our backs on. And now let's grab our stuffing, and we're going to stuff most of our little guy here. And we're just going to put about 2/3 of the stuffing in. So we want to have it fairly firm, but we also want it to be in far enough that we're going to be able to access these stitches without catching our needle on the stuffing. So that's probably more than enough. So let's get our needle back, or our hook back in, sorry. And for row 16, in the back loops, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 16. So make sure you're going in the very first back loop. 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease for 10. And if you're having a hard time finding those back loops, sometimes it helps if you can fold down that front loop row you made. 11, decrease for 12, 13, decrease for 14, 15, and our last decrease for 16. And if for some reason you're not quite at the right stitch amount, it might not matter, or if you want to, you can just kind of fudge up this end here and add a decrease or an increase or an extra stitch. We just got 1 more row, so it probably won't matter, because for the next row we're just going to do decreases. So for the row 17, we're going to do 8 decreases all the way around. And we're going back the normal way now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Then we're going to tie that off. Leave yourself a long tail. What I do is I like to bring it up through the top. And then I have a lot of extra yarn here. If I want to make a loop or do a little chain, you might just want to do a keychain and it won't matter, but we're still going to come out the top when we finish. So let's cut that. And we're going to add the rest of our stuffing now. And what we want to do is just kind of tuck it into the sides here because we want this bottom to stay flat. So we're just going to kind of push it over wherever you feel a hole. And then just keep going around like that all the way around until it starts to like puff out, and then you've got more than enough. So mine is starting to get a little bit round here, so I want to make sure I don't go any further. So I'm just going to stop stuffing it now. All right, now we're going to do a little mouth, and all I do is I take a piece of my scrap yarn and I just divide it. This one only has 3 because I've stolen from it. Normally it'll have 4, and you're just going to grab one section and then just pull that apart. Okay, so here's our little scrap of yarn, and we're just going to put that on our needle. And usually I would start my mouth somewhere out of the way over on the side so I can tie it, but since this is such a little space, I'm going to come up the bottom to make it easy. And we're going to go through these 3 stitches here just below the eyes, 1 row up of our green. So I'm just going to pick one of my stitches there. So we're going to come up here, come down here, and go up there, and we'll have 1 hole here between our corners of our mouth. So pull just enough yarn through so you have a little bit left for tying. Now we're going to come down a row and over a stitch, and we're going to come up a row and over a stitch. So we're making a V right here. So gently pull that, and then you're going to come back down and to the other side here. And then we're going to come down and out and pull this gently so you don't wreck your little mouth stitches. You may just have to push that around a bit so it's not uneven. So it's going to look like this. And then we're just going to lightly tie our 2 ends together on the bottom. And then give them a little cut. And then we're just going to cut a little piece of green, or if you have a scrap, this is for the hands. Mine's probably about 2 and a little bit more feet. It's from my hand outstretched to my neck, and then I cut it. So we'll thread that on. Again, we're going to come up the bottom, and we're going to come out just under the center of the eye, 2 rows down in the white. So about right there. So you see how I'm just kind of in the middle of the eye. Pull a little bit of thread through, leaving some at the bottom for tying. And then we're just going to wrap around this 1 stitch about 4 times. And I'm going towards the center of her little body. So 1, and you don't want to pull these too tight. 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, we're going to go over to the other side. So again, you want to be just kind of under the eye, the center of the eye. Pull that gently, and again we're going to go around this stitch towards the center. One, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one we're just going to come out the bottom. And if you find these aren't even or they look funny, you can just stick your little needle in and give them kind of a pull and a wiggle to kind of even them out a bit. And then we'll give those a tie. 4, I think. So I'm tying it loosely, so I need an extra tie in there. I don't know why I didn't take the stitch marker out yet. Let's do that. If you still have yours in, give those a cut. And now we'll do the little pieces on the hair. So again, you just want a little scrap of white. Mine is my arms outstretched all the way out. And that should give me more than enough. And again, we're going to come up through the bottom. And we want to do our first one about right here. So what I do is I use this stitch that's coming right to the center of the eye. And then I just come over into the hole beside it. So I'll be going there, and then I'll take that one and go in the hole behind it. So I'm going in between, I'll be going in between the black and the green. So just a little bit behind the center of the eye. So right there. Pull most of your yarn through, leave a little bit for tying, and then we're going to come, I think I just kind of went straight up towards the center. So I'm right at the center hole right there, but I'm not going in the center. I'm going one row down. I know that's hard to see, but so I'm in between rows 1 and 2, I guess. And then you decide if you want to go this way or this way. And if you're not sure, just take your, oh, I guess that should go like that. If you're not sure, just take your yarn and you can go like this. Do I like it like that, or do I like it like that? And I went backwards on mine, so I'm going to come down and into this next stitch behind the eye. So right there. Oops, I made myself a mess here, twisting around that needle. I'm not pulling this too tight, and try not to get your stuffing out. And then I just go in that same stitch at the top, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I find that center stitch just above my eye, and I go in the hole behind it. I'm going to pull up to the center, and then I'm going to go in between rows 1 and 2, right beside there. Come one hole back from where I already was, and then come back in that same hole up top and out the bottom. And when I'm doing it this way out the bottom, I try and make sure my ends are coming like not in the same spot in the stuffing, just so there's stuffing there to hold it so it doesn't go up this way when I tie it. So then we're just going to give that a tie. One more time, I think. And then we'll cut that off. And now we can close up the bottom. And now, especially since we have white here, we don't want to see these little black and green pieces. So I'm just going to take a tiny little bit of stuffing, and I'm just going to cover that up. And then you won't see it when you're finished closing. So let's thread on our needle now. So this is our finishing tail. And I'm just going to go in and out of these top loops all the way around. And if you are doing the plush yarn and it snaps for you all the time when you're going to close, try going halfway around, or a third of the way around. And then pull it, and then do a couple more stitches, pull it tight again. And that will really help keep it from breaking, because 8 stitches is a lot for some of that plusher yarn. So then I'm just going to pull it nice and tight to close, go into the next stitch, tie a knot. Oh, see, even with that chain, I still made a bit of a divot there. So you might want to chain 2 there. I'll put a little note up top when we're at that part, if I remember. And then we're just gonna go up the top and out that first center loop that you made. And there you go. Now Frankenstein has his little bride to go with him. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.